Dude, how are you, man? I feel like it's
I'm good.
been like years.
Dude, it's been so long. It actually might have been years, Jay.
You might have, yeah. I'm not sure the last time that we actually had like a phone call and not just text messages. So it's nice to both see your face and hear your voice.
That's true. I'm trying to think of the last. Well, we haven't really texted in a while. I'm trying to think of the last time that we saw each other. Was it last Christmas or was it the Christmas before?
It must have been the Christmas before, because I think the last Christmas I was still over in Denver for the most part.
Mm, yeah, Christmas of 22, man. Well, Jay, do you want to just start and then we can do the podcast and then do like in-depth catching up afterwards?
I'm into that. Yeah.
All right. Let's do it because I have a lot of questions for you. Okay, I have my glasses are off, so I can't see anything. Here we
Can you hear me
go.
okay? How's Theo?
What?
Can you hear me okay? Like how's audio?
Dude, you sound like $1 million.
Love it.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
always, bro. Okay, here we go. Welcome everyone to episode 77 of Fehr the Burn. They cannot see you yet. It's okay. You raised your hand. No worries. We're here with the one, the only, the Dr. Justin Buffalo Money Lewis.
Give it a squeeze and then you sneeze. Blessings are coming back. Living in peace while not at ease and still loving to rap. Facts. Give me the keys, I'm down on my knees. This is not an act. Champion spree, hand it to me. I'm ready for the strap. I'ma keep grinding till I can't no more. Running
Welcome,
my
Jay.
race.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the warm welcome there. Yeah, it's very sweet of you.
Of course, and I always have to throw your legal middle name um, in your title as well, now that you are officially a real doctor.
Yeah, I appreciate that you threw the middle name at the end. It's a proper spot.
Jay, I wanted to have you on because you're one of my good buddies, and you are typically on our Christmas episodes or holiday-esque episodes. And I just wanted to ask because we were just talking about how we hadn't catch up. How have you been, man? You recently became a doctor. How's life?
Yeah, I recently graduated from PT school. I would say life is a lot calmer since then. It's been a pretty crazy pace for the past 2.5 years, and I'm ready for things to slow down just a little bit. But overall, life has been treating me very, very well. Yeah.
And you've been out in Denver, you're out in Boise. I want to know uh what takes the cake in your mind.
Um, between the two, or just overall in general?
Yeah, let's just go overall in general, even if you haven't been somewhere, that could be in the mix, like Thailand. Sure. What takes the cake?
Well, I'll try to stick to the places that I've been, which I would say that's mostly Washington, Boise, Pocatello, Denver. Spent a couple years in Atlanta, Georgia, and I would say between all of those places, got to give it to the Pacific Northwest. Got to go with Washington, but I would say Denver in all of its mountain glory probably takes a close second. It definitely is beautiful over there. Different kind of beautiful than the lush green and the blues that you get over in Washington, but beautiful nonetheless.
David tells me it's brown, Justin.
I would say it's similar beauty to Boise, where it's lots of sun, lots of good temperature, a lot of outdoors, but a lot of rocks and a lot of dirt. Yeah.
Okay. Because
They live up to the name of the Rocky Mountains for sure.
yeah, of course, dude. Rocky Mountains, they're just mountains made of what, Justin?
Made of rock.
Made of rock, exactly. Yeah, I've been considering. I recently did a stand-up show with some guys from Denver, and they are keenly wanting me to come visit and or come move. So I have been thinking about moving to Denver, but I've also heard that you have had plans possibly to go back to the Pacific Northwest. Now that you're done, Justin, and I want to go into kind of your experience after after this because we both went back to college at the exact same time and graduated at the exact same time. But do you have any plans to move to the Northwest now that you're done?
That is a solid stepping off point. I My last rotation was actually up in Washington, up near Auburn, which I know that you're very familiar with that area for sure.
Oh yeah,
You
hell
did
yeah,
your
let's go Auburn and Kent, baby.
um, and so with that, I just spent about 16 weeks up there, up in the Covington area, which is close
Okay.
to the Kent Auburn area.
Yep.
Um, and Lovely rotation, really good people, really good clinic that I was working at, and they actually extended me a job offer while I was up there, and I accepted it just recently. So as of January 7th, I will be starting as a doctor of physical therapy up in Covington, Washington, in a place called Pacific Northwest Sport Institute. So I will be moving back up to the Pacific Northwest here very, very soon.
Congratulations, man. That's amazing. Good for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
And it's definitely, I mean, that's a semblance. I know that Boise's home for you, but I know that like that area also is home for you a little bit as well. And so that's nice that you can kind of go back there. Justin, I'm curious because I've been thinking a lot about this. This is kind of a two-part question, and I'll ask you in two parts. So I'll let you answer the first part first, I suppose. Um, what was your general experience going back to college, especially in a graduate program, a doctoral program, if you will, after what was it, 3 years away?
I think it was right about 3 years. Yeah. Um, and I would say it's a great question. It was not easy going back. The transition back to the pace of school, especially at a doctoral versus kind of undergraduate, like the difference between the two. I was very grateful for my time away from school. I think that it gave me a lot of life experience that gave me a little bit more of a framework and an appreciation for what I was learning and why I was learning it and all that. But that being said, I definitely was out of the pace of school for a long time there, and getting back into the swing of things with note taking and test taking and all of these different things was a challenge for sure. Full transparency, my first anatomy exam in PT school, I actually failed. And it was one of the first exams in my whole college career that I had failed. And so that was a bit of a slap in the face for sure.
Wow.
It wasn't by much, but it was definitely enough that I was like, okay, yeah, gotta take this seriously. And it was a good wake up call early in the process, to kind of get me back in order. Did some tutoring, and kind of got back up to speed and was fine by the next test. But yeah, the transition back to school was definitely a bit of a challenge there.
I would agree with that, man. I think we had different undergraduate experiences because when I went back to finish this last semester, well, I came back in the fall of 22, but the thing I remember is actually going to classes, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm like doing college. Yeah, that's a thing. And you've always been a really good student, so I don't think you ever struggled with that. But I definitely can understand and sympathize with being out of the pace and then being like, oh yeah, I'm a student again. Like I have to like go right now to all of the
Got to
things.
keep back up with things.
Yeah. And my second part, Jay, is what was the best and the worst part of going back? Like what was the best and then what was the hardest?
Hmm, good question. Uh, um, Best, I would say, is just having the social structure of school again. I think that there's something to definitely be said for being around people of like mind. And I went back to school for PT, and it was a close cohort of like 74 people that were all on the same track. They were taking all the same courses. You're in every test and challenging experience and everything together. And so there's definitely a sense of camaraderie that's just kind of built into the structure of school at that point. And that was definitely something that I would say was the best experience. It's just nice to have that built-in friend network and that built-in social structure. like
Yeah,
straight out of the gate. And
it looked like you had a bunch of your homies on your Instagram post and whatnot, all you and your little your girls and gays, Jay.
oh yeah, no, it was yeah, I think there were 74 of us in the class together. And after 2.5 years together, like you definitely build some bonds with people for sure. I would say it's different than like what the theater program was, just because obviously it's a little bit less intertwined than the theater program is. Theater program, you see the ins and outs of everybody, sometimes literally. And in PT school, it's a little bit of a different case, but still, you know, you're with these people for such a long time, you build bonds regardless. And it was a great time. Most challenging or worst part of school. I would say this time debt was a lot bigger of a thing
Mm.
because I was going back for a graduate program and it was a lot more expensive. And first couple semesters were out of state tuition, and so I would say that's the one thing that was definitely the hardest pill to swallow is just how expensive school is.
Yeah, man. I can't even imagine because you were out of state too, huh? So they charged you that out of state tuition.
Oh yeah, for those first 2 to 3 semesters. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. So hold on. Where are you a resident of right now?
You know, that's a good question. I'm wandering all over the place, aren't I? um, so I was a resident of Washington when I enrolled in the school, and then while I was there, I was able to establish residency in Colorado. So then I was a Colorado resident, and then moved back up to Washington and established residency up there. Went back to Denver for graduation, which was just a couple days or whatever, and then not moved, but like came back to Idaho, which is where I am currently. I'm in my parents' home. Um, and then as of next Sunday, I'll move back up to Washington and be back up there full time. So I would say technically right now I'm a Washington resident, but you can make an argument for one of 2 states.
They can't track you.
Can't track me. I'm untrackable.
Yeah, you're too fast. You're the shooter. You're like Bradley Cooper. You're
I'm off the
shooting
Victor
everyone's
boy.
joints. It's popping. Yeah, I think for me the best part of going back was the education that I received. I think education is what you put into it. And the first time I was in college, I didn't put anything into it really, other than just partying and chasing tail. Um, but this time I came back and I left at the same time that Vanessa left. She is moving
I
on to
was just hearing
USU.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was her TA this last semester, so I took her advanced acting class and I was a TA for her class. So I got a lot of education this last semester, especially. Um, and Vanessa was really like the main reason I went back. You know what I mean? I probably wouldn't have gone to ISU like back for education if she wasn't there. So
Sure.
yeah. So I'm glad that I got out. And you know what? This is what I'll say. Good luck to everybody else. I'm out. It is what it is. I love everybody. But I'm doing my thing. 5 people watch this anyway. Uh and the worst part, Justin, you're frozen. I don't know if okay, you're not frozen anymore. Um the worst part for me was also, Justin, guess what? The debt. The money and actually needing to like pay for a house and an apartment and whatnot and all of the things. As an older college student, did suck. Um, see if you come back to us here. Justin's looping right now. What the fuck? All right. Well, Justin died momentarily, but he will be back. He is a great friend of mine. I just want to say that anything I say does not resemble his thoughts or opinions. I'm a crazy person, and Justin's literally a doctor. So, Justin, are you back?
Are we back?
I think we're back. Do
All right.
you have low Wi-Fi? What's going on?
I don't know what was going on there, but I think whatever it is fixed. Looks like my connection should be good. So not sure what that was, but maybe there was a little blip in the radar there. I don't know what was happening.
It says your bandwidth is low. I don't know what that means. You're a doctor. I'm not.
I think it just means slower internet connection. But unfortunately, they didn't for that in my doctor program.
Well, if that's the case, we'll move forward and we will pray that Justin is able to give his testimony and we can talk about God here in a second. Um, his bandwidth is low. This podcast is brought to you by water. Drink it. I got a lot of it. Justin is back.
We are back, baby.
We're back, baby. Justin, I was just about to go into some current events. If you wouldn't mind chatting about those real quick.
I'm into that.
Have you seen the guy who got shot for the United Health Organization and the man who shot him was Mario's brother?
Yeah, Mr. Luigi himself.
Yeah. Do you have opinions about this being a doctor of physical therapy with insurance companies I'm sure you're going to have to work for in the future or have already done?
I would say I don't have strong opinions on the actual like act itself. I think that it is something that is uh, not shocking that someone would go out and do something like that. It sounds like he kind of had maybe some cause that he was maybe trying to get sort of or trying to get publicity out there about, especially since it sounds like it came out recently that he may have had like some outstanding medical expenses and things, and so he himself may have been kind of victim to some of the health insurance game, if you will. I would say, as for the actual health insurance, healthcare company type of topic, definitely have opinions there. We have to go through quite a bit of education about healthcare delivery and billing and insurance and all of that. And it is defeating to learn more and more about it. Like it's never uplifting. It's not a good topic. It doesn't make you feel good. Doesn't make you want to join the healthcare system when you're learning about all of the ins and outs of it for sure. And so it's not surprising that someone would get to that point. But I think one thing that has been the most shocking is the public opinion, or at least like the mainstream like news opinion of the actual murder itself and whether it was a good thing, whether the guy was a hero, whether like all that kind of stuff. It's just been kind of shocking to hear like all of that because I mean it still was like I mean it was still a murder, you know, like it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but I think the public opinion about it just shows just how much unrest there is about like healthcare just in general.
Well, I think just yeah, like you're saying, just the news sources, I mean, they're going to try to politicize it one way or another too. You know what I mean? This happening also gives them fuel to continue the distress and the division in the people. Just from your point of view, though, I'm curious if you have like an example of why insurance can be so disheartening. Like, I'm not necessarily like an example specifically from you, but an example of what could be a holdup for something, if you have any of those.
Well, I think it's just tough as like healthcare, just in general, like US healthcare is so expensive, and the quality of care versus the cost of care in America versus compared to some other like healthcare structures, like other healthcare payment structures. It is just disheartening to see so many people go into such incredible amounts of debt just to cover life expenses of unforeseen illness or an accident related injury or those types of things. Like sometimes it's something that is uh, the person might think that they're covered for a lot of injuries or accidents, but then when it goes time to actually pay for those things, then the health insurance company that they've been paying all their money to for premiums and things just doesn't choose to pay for it for whatever reason, or doesn't pay for it to the extent that would be reasonable, if you will. And so I think it's tough to see from the provider's perspective, like patients going through this like machine, if you will, of healthcare, where it's they're not fully understanding everything that they're either signing up for or paying for, and it's tough to be on the provider side of that, where it's like my services could be a financial burden to someone,
Mhm.
like that part I think is the hard part to sign on for sometimes.
Even if your services are to help them, right, and progress their health in certain ways, it still is going to be a burden financially. I mean, I think you could even argue the same thing for like psychologists, right? Like, even though they are there to help you with your mental state, like counseling ain't easy, and I don't know if some insurances carry it and some insurances don't. And that's probably another issue too, is like certain places will take your insurance, but other places won't. So even just like finding the right place too, I think could be difficult if you're in a city that doesn't get covered by your insurance or whatever. Do you think you have any like possible solutions? Do you think we should just get rid of insurance altogether because it's a scam, or like make your services free and you get paid from the government? What do you think the solutions are, J. Lou?
Oh boy, that is a loaded question if I've ever heard one. They
I'm chock
actually,
full of them, baby.
in our PT program, we actually have one of the semesters of our healthcare delivery class, which is essentially just about billing and like insurance structure and all of those types of things. They basically pose the same question to us as like, okay, you as a class are now trying to redo American healthcare. How do you fix things? What do you change? What's your game plan going forward? If you think that things are really as gone to shit as you think that they are, fix it. What's your solution? And after having that question posed to us and us having to really like struggle with a lot of that, I don't think there is an easy solution. And I think that a lot of it has to be changed from within. I don't think that we can just say, okay, let's completely get rid of this insurance structure, or let's tear it down and rebuild it all from new, because it is like that kind of radical change is very difficult for like people will get lost along the way if that's the case. Physical therapy as a whole, I would say there's a movement towards more of a cash pay system where a lot of physical therapists say, like, I just don't want to deal with insurance. I'm going to start my own clinic and I'm going to have it be paid entirely out cash pay, and just not have to jump through the hoops and figure out whether my patient is covered or whether I take their insurance or how much I'm getting paid versus how much the patient is paying for the service. Like cut out the middleman. Let's just do cash pay, um, which I think there's an argument for that, but I think the argument against it is accessibility. Like people are already paying for their health insurance, and if you are going to have a service that's now outside of their health insurance and they're not getting any additional help from their health insurance with that, um, only the people that have the funds and have the cash to be able to pay for that will be eligible for your services. And so anybody who doesn't have the means to be able to pay whatever your cash price is now is you are inaccessible to them as a clinician, and especially if you're in more of a rural community and you're maybe one of the only providers for that particular service in the area. Now you've priced out a large portion of the population, and it becomes more of a pay for quality of service rather than just pay for access to service, and that just becomes kind of an ethical issue for a lot of people. So I don't know. I don't know that there's a quick, easy solution. I would love for there to be one, but I think that there definitely needs to be a change in the cost of healthcare, both for the payer and for health insurance companies. And I think that there definitely needs to be a change in accessibility, where um, if somebody needs a service, I think that it needs to be available to them. But in terms of how to solve those two problems, I don't. I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like you're in a real catch-22 in that situation.
Yeah.
Um, would you ever give physical therapy to an alien?
Ooh, that's a good question. We don't actually take any anatomy classes on anything outside the human body, so I'd be curious what things would look like. Physical therapy, I would say, is probably one of the few health services that like would translate decently to an alien potentially, because you're just looking at like biomechanics and stuff. Like, now, am I going to understand the anatomy? No, but am I going to be able to look at the way that it's moving? Sure. Could I try to make it a more optimal movement pattern? Maybe. Will I have any understanding of like the inner workings of this alien? No, not even a little bit. Will it be within my scope of practice to cut into this alien? Not even a little bit, but that's also the case with humans. So
Oh, dude, I
I
want to
would
cut
say,
into the alien. Yeah, let's find out.
yeah, let's see what's inside. But I would say I am open to giving my physical therapy services to an alien.
Well, I mean, they might be landing, Jay. I don't know if you've seen all of the news, all of the UFO sightings outside of New Jersey and the James Webb Telescope, quote unquote, tracking an armada of UFO ships coming directly towards Earth. Have you heard anything about the aliens? What do you think about all this?
Hmm. I would say I haven't kept up with the alien news necessarily. I've got a lot more free time on my hand after graduating school, so maybe I'll do a deep dive into some of these. I don't want to go out and call them conspiracy theories, but like potential theories that may exist out there, conspiracy or not. I would like to think that there is uh, some sort of other life beyond just what we have here on Earth. So I wouldn't say that it's a far off thought that it could exist.
Yeah, you never know. Justin has gone frozen again. Perhaps we will get him back because we are about to lead in to the main portion of the podcast here. Um, Thank you everyone for being with me and for going through this journey together. Merry Christmas. He is risen. He was born. He is the king. And Justin sent me a really interesting text message a while ago, not about aliens, not about physical therapy, but actually about God. And I am curious to get his thoughts on it. I don't know. He will be back, hopefully, here soon. Um, but yeah, man, I just want to say thank you to everybody for being here and for going on this journey with us. We will get J. Lou here in a second. I don't know. He had to update that we got a bandwidth problem. But at the end of the day, it's Christmas, and it's gonna be a happy new year. I am in complete darkness, like my future. We will, we will get J. Lou here in just a moment to wrap up the podcast. We've been going pretty good here. Hoping to not make a lot of edits. Justin,
Hello, are we back?
we are back and we are going to wrap up. This is going to be the home stretch of the podcast. We've done pretty good so far. Jay, the main reason I wanted to have you on today is because I wanted to talk about that text message you sent me.
Oh, all right. Which one?
The one about Jesus, the one about the parking lot. I want to talk about that moment, and I'm curious how your journey's been since then.
For sure. Yeah. I would say I'm still kind of growing in my journey with faith. I would say that was the text message that you're referring to was a pretty deep, dark spot in my life. It was a bit of a um, rock bottom, if you will, in terms of the stress of school and the stress of personal relationships in my life and a variety of other factors were kind of playing into things. But in that way, it was also a bit of a bright spot because it was one of the few moments up until that point that I had felt truly connected to something spiritual. So, uh, in that text that I had sent to you, it was when I was kind of just starting my journey towards a Christian faith. And I would say it's expanded since then, but it's still kind of in its early stages. And it's been fostered a lot by the people that are the closest to me, like my parents, you, and some conversations with Dave, a variety of different things. But it's definitely something that I am open to and I'm trying to foster a bit more.
Yeah, man. I'm just kind of curious about like what in your mind has changed since then, to a sense. Like what, because I feel like when anyone comes into faith and comes into contact with Christ, there is always like paradoxes and paradigms and points of view, if I could do the P cubed, that change or begin to change. And I'm curious if you've seen any of those shifts in yourself or your mindset.
I can't quite put my finger on like one example necessarily, but I would say that there's a lot more grace for myself. There's a lot more grace for others, more of an understanding of um, uh, I wouldn't say that it necessarily changed a ton for me, but it gave more purpose to some things that had already existed. Like I feel like I had a decent understanding of spirituality before that point, but didn't really have necessarily a guide behind it. And I think that now there's just a little bit more purpose and intent behind uh, some things like before it was like just oh, I want to be more mindful and I want to be more connected to others and individuals, and now I feel like there's a lot more of like a collective behind it where it's like I feel like we all come from a common place, or a common creator, and that to me is a little bit more communal than things had kind of been before.
Yeah, because before were you more along the lines of like Big Bang and things like that?
Not necessarily. I would say that stuff hasn't changed as much. I would say it's more that before I had more roots in like a Buddhist perspective, where it was um, that uh, like all of our actions are like kind of a net zero, where it's you put out positivity and positivity is reflected in the world, or you put out negativity and negativity is reflected within the world. But that there's not necessarily anything that is um, like one person doing something to another and that just being a one-way transaction, but a lot more of like if you're doing something negative to somebody, then like they're receiving the negativity, and it just being a little bit more like transactional. Whereas now I feel like it's a little bit more um, interconnected from a common starting point, if you will. But I wouldn't say that like theory about like the world or like the creation of things hasn't changed dramatically. I
Mm.
would say that like there's still a lot that I value from like a like science perspective, that I don't feel like has changed as much with my journey in Christianity.
Have you been like reading the Bible or praying at all? Has that like been anything that you've been diving into?
I haven't read the Bible necessarily. I would say that there's been scripture that I've read like pieces of, but not necessarily uh, like start to finish read of the Bible. But it's something that I'm curious about. Um, and I would say praying, I've definitely been doing a lot more of than I had in the past, and with a bit more intention behind it than there ever was before.
That's good, man. I'm happy for you. I remember getting that text message from you, and it was very early in the morning, Justin. It was like 5 or 6 in the morning. And I forget, I don't have my phone on me right now, but you're like, what parking lot were you in?
Uh, it's a good question. I know it was at like I feel like it was like a pet store or something. I don't know.
I think you're right, like PetSmart or something, and you were like, hey man, I feel like I'm having like a moment with God right now. And you talked about your dad a little bit, and finally, like you say, like being very stressed out to the point and that you feel like you're at rock bottom, and then coming into contact with essentially hope in that moment. Would I be ill-advised in saying that?
No, I would say that's true. Yeah, that's definitely what it felt like in that moment.
Um, yeah, man. So I guess my main question is like, are you still, as you say, you're diving into this Christianity walk? Um, where are you at with Jesus at the moment? Do you think he was who he says he is? He
Um,
wasn't who he said he was? Do you think that like some of the Bible is true, or like what's your kind of general take? I know you're a doctor.
yeah, no, I would say I don't, I'm still early enough into things that it's hard for me to make a statement like one way or the other. I would say like the Bible, like in its entirety, I don't have like a strong opinion on one way or another. Like whether it's all true or whether parts of it are true or whatever. I would say for me, it's more um, that the like idea of faith, the idea of believing in like a creator is more where my journey has like been focused more like recently, I guess. And the idea of uh, coming to Christ for acceptance and for forgiveness was a lot of where it started. And there definitely was like a sense of hope that it gave me initially that I would say has followed me through to this point. But in terms of exploring like the like actual faith of Christianity itself, that's still where I'm kind of in the earlier phases. I just went to service with my parents and my family earlier this morning, and it was a really lovely sermon. I wouldn't be able to tell you about the specifics of all of it, but mainly it's just that I enjoy being in places of faith and places of celebration of God a lot more than I had in the past.
Good for you, man. I love that. I really do, dude. I think that Justin, I don't care what anyone believes. I really don't. I just think humans need to find purpose. Like, I don't care if you're an atheist. I don't care if you're a Buddhist. I don't care if you're a Christian. I don't care if you're whatever. I don't care if you're an alien who's looking for physical therapy appointments. Okay. I don't give a shit. But what I do care about is that people find purpose. Because I think that. Are you dying again? Your statue, Jay. Big statue. Oh, you're back. You're back.
I'm back. I'm back,
You're
baby.
back. Maybe. But I just think finding purpose is the main thing that is going to help humans have peace, have hope, and have faith in whatever it is they believe. And I think purpose is the main thing in all that.
I would agree with that, and I feel like it gives you a sense of community and a sense of connection to your fellow man that you don't get if you don't have some sort of. I agree. It doesn't matter to me necessarily like what your faith is, but I think that the idea of having some element of faith or some element of spiritual is very grounding when so much of our life pulls us away from those types of things, and it's nice to have a solid foundation and a solid grounding network that you can come back to regardless of whatever that faith is.
Facts, brother. All right, man. It is 5:32. We've been going for just about 40 minutes now. I'm not gonna lie, your bandwidth is low as fuck. And I don't want to raise your family's Wi-Fi bill any more than we have to. So I got one more question for you, Jay, and then we're gonna dip. Are you ready?
Hit me with it, Chan.
What is your favorite thing about Christmas? Give me a 15-minute answer. Go.
Oh, 15-minute answer. Good Lord. um, oh man, that's a good question. I love the placement of Christmas and that it's at the end of the year. I feel like
And died. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Justin's favorite thing is the fact that Christmas is at the end of the year. It's a great holiday. It is the birth of Christ. It's not actually, but some people say that it is. Thank you so much for being here for episode 77 of Fair the Burn. I don't know if I said it was 77 or 76 at the beginning, but it doesn't matter. Justin Lewis, he's a doctor. He's going through his journey. He is sad about insurance companies. And would he give physical therapy to an alien? Yes, he would. I've gone dark. Justin, we're closing out the show. We don't care what your favorite thing about Christmas is. We know that it's at the end of the year. And my favorite thing is drinking. Thank you so much. This is Fair the Burn, ladies and gentlemen, episode 77. Keep burning.
Hit my line, you're driving me crazy. Like you and I don't talk anymore. It's past 3 and I don't know if lately I've been hearing knocks at my